Right, and of course you understand too, what I'm trying to do is to fortify arguments against so that you can refute them, because this is an opportunity if they are refutable. Uh, what I think is an argument that could be used against what you're saying is the fact that what happened immediately thereafter, St. Petersburg, Tampa, New Orleans, Baltimore, you know.
Well, this was you see, you've got to understand this, that through the sanitation strike here and the attention that was directed to it, for the first time, well, actually, not for the first time, but certainly this was one of the major efforts by workers to achieve some goals. Now, we've had good-sized strikes in the private sector for years. This was not a big strike in terms of numbers of people, but the manner in which the opposing sides lined up, so to speak, was different than any other, to my knowledge, in the history of the labor movement. Here you had probably the lowest level, or supposedly the lowest level of the workforce.
The stereotype lowest level.
Confronting really the powerful city of Memphis. And they were confronting them not with a violent nature or anything, but simply saying that we're going to withhold our services until you eventually take care of our problems. If you go back through labor history, you will see that where private industry is involved, there's just a work stoppage and nothing takes place. But here, the city has the ability to go out and hire. It has the ability to do any number of things. And the only thing that the employees were saying is that they, as individuals, were not going to work under the conditions that existed, and they're going to get something tangible from the city to deal with their problems, or they were not going back to work. Now, the city obviously, and we recognize this fact, cannot go out overnight and hire 1,000 people or 1,500 people. And this is the only way that in public employment the employees can fight, and that's by the united effort of just...
Couldn't they do that, though, in this instance? I mean, maybe not 1,000, but they could 300, 400.
No, you see, the municipal government is designed as far as the rules to deal with individual employees, and deal quite effectively with them, particularly where there's no voice. The only thing they cannot do is deal with mass numbers of people. That's the difference, and I think that's the difference in the types of strikes that we have, because in public employment, bear in mind that nobody is just in love with striking. There have to be pretty difficult problems to solve if you're going to get a large number of people worked up about it.
Yeah, I don't know whether this has anything to do with it or not, but it's along this line, because Pete Sisson told us that in 1966 he sent 700 letters on Friday because he knew that the union was going to call a strike Sunday, and this was before the injunction. And he had, Monday morning, he had 300, 400 people there ready to go to work. That's the only reason I say that they could do maybe not 1,000, maybe not replace 1,200 in one fell swoop, but they could.
Well, the difference as I see it here is that no one at that time understood the nature of the struggle, so
Are you talking about this February? Not
right. In 66.
66.
Nobody understood the nature of the struggle.
I see, I see.
And this year, in February, it was only a couple of days before everyone understood exactly what was at stake for the employees.
Why?
I think primarily because so many of them were standing together and saying, these are our problems and this is what we would like to have done. Now, we had an active effort by the ministerial community to prevent people from taking the jobs of those employees who were out. Now, this made the situation more difficult for the city.
You're talking about the black minister.
Right. Whereas ordinarily, it's a very quiet thing and nobody knows what's going on, and you maybe could find somebody who was seeking employment. But nobody wanted to actually take the jobs of the men who are on strike here.
Is this true now in the hospital strike? Is the
I have to assume that it is.
I was going to say, the pressure of the black minister has been as extensive here as it was 6 months ago, 7 months ago.
I can't answer that directly because we haven't done the same things in this one that we would ordinarily do in a strike, and it's for a number of reasons, because of the parallel circumstances involved and the fact that we're not, concerned with trying to put the same kind of burden on this community that we put before. We're interested in settling this thing, and if we had to go to the type of community mobilization that we did before, then we could do that. But by the same token, we have a clear example of what road we're traveling if we do. And I think that's been interpreted as a sign of weakness and a sign of a divided community.
Yeah.
In other words, you've held off from escalating to the point where you did last.
Yeah. And why is that?
Well, we just organizationally feel that we should not be cast in the role of every time there's a struggle to go out and rope in mass numbers of people for mass confrontation, because I think we've got an atmosphere that exists in the city of Memphis that's very explosive.